You have an important report due in 2 days. The deadline looms on your calendar. You're sitting at your desk, phone in hand, scrolling through short, mildly amusing videos. Just a few more minutes, you tell yourself, then an hour disappears. With a sigh, you decide it's too late to get into a rhythm. I'll get an early start tomorrow, you conclude, pushing the task into the future. This isn't willpower failing or laziness, it's your brain's internal wiring, a battle between immediate gratification and delayed reward. I call it the dopamine versus deadline dilemma. Our brains are hardwired to seek pleasure and rewards. That drive is governed by a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Anticipating or experiencing something rewarding releases a surge of dopamine. That surge creates pleasure and motivates repeating the behavior. The brain doesn't always tell productive rewards from trivial ones. It prioritizes speed. Checking a notification, watching a funny clip, eating a sugary snack. Each gives an instant, reliable dopamine hit. Finishing a major report is a bigger reward, but distant and uncertain. So the brain picks the sure thing now over the better thing later. This preference shapes our daily actions more than we think. Choosing easy distractions over hard work reinforces a neural pathway. Repeat it enough and it becomes automatic. Another powerful driver of procrastination is the emotion of stress. Large, ambiguous project, like write a comprehensive market analysis. Your brain doesn't just see a task, it can perceive a threat. Sheer size and complexity can trigger a mild stress response. Similar to the ancient fight-or-flight mechanism. Heart rate might increase slightly. You may feel a sense of tension. Your mind might start to race with anxious thoughts. Feeling overwhelmed is deeply uncomfortable. Our instinct is to escape discomfort. Procrastination becomes emotional regulation. It is an avoidance strategy. You turn to a simple, distracting activity. You're not just seeking pleasure, you're running from pain. For a brief moment, it works perfectly. Tension dissolves, anxiety recedes. You feel a wave of relief. That relief is a powerful, temporary reward. The prefrontal cortex handles long-term planning. It handles impulse control. It handles focusing on goals. Think of it as the rational CEO of your brain, but when you're stressed, the CEO weakens. When you're tired, the CEO weakens. When you're overwhelmed, the CEO weakens. Its connection to primitive emotion-driven parts weakens. The limbic system urges immediate relief. Those urges can overpower logical plans. To overcome the powerful forces of dopamine and stress, you must make your desired habits as easy and satisfying as your undesired ones. The most effective way to do this is to shrink the task until it is so small that it's almost impossible to say no to. One of the most practical strategies for this is the 2-minute rule. The rule is simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Instead of write the report, make the goal, open the document and write one sentence. Instead of study for the exam, make it open your textbook to the correct chapter. The idea is to make starting the action ridiculously easy. This approach works because it bypasses the brain's resistance to large, intimidating tasks. A 2-minute action is not a threat. It doesn't trigger the stress and avoidance response. Anyone can open a document. Anyone can write a single sentence. The beauty of this method is that the initial inertia is the greatest barrier to getting things done. Once you have started, even in a tiny way, it is far easier to continue. That first sentence often turns into a paragraph. Opening the textbook leads to reading a page. The 2-minute rule is not about the results you get in those 2 minutes. It's about mastering the art of showing up. Another powerful technique is the Pomodoro technique. This method structures work into focused, timed intervals. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Commit to working on a single task without interruption until the timer goes off. Your habits are often less a product of your motivation and more a response to the cues in your environment. If your phone is sitting on your desk buzzing with notifications, if your workspace is cluttered and disorganized, the cue is to feel overwhelmed and avoid the area altogether. One of the most effective ways to stop procrastinating is to stop relying on willpower and start designing an environment that makes your desired actions easier and your undesired actions harder. This is the principle of choice architecture. Become the architect of your environment to gently guide your future self. The first step is to increase the friction associated with bad habits. If you habitually check your phone, don't just put it on silent. Put it in another room. Walk to another room, pause and question whether you really need to check it. If you get lost in browser tabs, use a website blocker during your work hours. Make distractions harder to access than your work. Make the path of least resistance lead to productivity, conserve your limited willpower for the task itself. Conversely, decrease the friction for your good habits. Prepare your environment for work ahead of time. If you plan to write in the morning, open the document on your computer, lay out your notes on your desk the night before. When you sit down to work, the first step is already done for you. The cue is not to start a difficult task, but to continue what is already in front of you. By priming your environment, you make starting frictionless. You are no longer staring at a blank slate, you are stepping into a process already in motion. This concept extends beyond your physical desk. It includes your digital spaces. It includes your social environment. Create a dedicated user profile on your computer just for work, free from distracting apps and bookmarks. Tell a friend, tell a colleague about your deadline for gentle social accountability. The more cues that point toward focus and away from distraction, the less you have to consciously think about staying on task. Your behavior will naturally follow the path you design, making focus the default instead of a struggle. Ultimately, breaking the habit of procrastination is not a sprint won by a single, heroic burst of effort. It is a marathon won by taking small, consistent steps, day after day. A crucial and often overlooked part of this process is self-compassion. Procrastination is not a character flaw, it is a human tendency rooted in our brain's wiring. Berating yourself for delaying a task only adds feelings of guilt and shame to the existing stress, which often makes you want to avoid the task even more. This creates a downward spiral of negative emotion and further procrastination. The first step to changing the behavior is to notice it without judgment. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. If you only manage to work for 5 minutes today, when you planned for an hour, that is still 5 minutes more than zero. That is a win. Acknowledge the effort and try again tomorrow. The goal is to build momentum. A tiny action, repeated consistently, builds a powerful habit. Just as money compounds with interest, your efforts compound over time. One sentence becomes a paragraph. One paragraph becomes a page. Soon enough, the report is complete. The key is to trust that small, imperfect actions, when repeated, will lead to remarkable results. To put this into practice today, make a simple promise to yourself. It is not a grand, intimidating commitment, but a small, actionable step. For example, today at 2 p.m., I will put my phone in the drawer. I will set a timer for 10 minutes. I will work on my most important task. Be specific about what you will do. Be specific about when you will do it. Be specific about where you will do it. This is an if-then plan, or what psychologists call an implementation intention. It automates your decision-making, removing the need to debate with yourself when the time comes. You simply follow the plan you already made. In the end, you can make your brain's reward system work for you instead of against you. By breaking down big, scary tasks into small, manageable steps, you can avoid the stress response. By using techniques like the 2-minute rule. By using the Pomodoro technique, you can provide your brain with the frequent rewards and sense of progress it craves. By designing your environment for focus, you make productivity the easiest option. And by treating yourself with kindness, you ensure that a single slip-up doesn't derail your entire journey. Start small, be consistent, watch as you transform your relationship with work, one tiny step at a time. Bit by bit. Okay, so, just start small, and keep going.